Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing my video that I do occasionally, telling you what I'm reading and what I'm streaming. And I gotta start writing this stuff down because I feel like there is more than what I'm about to tell you, but I just don't remember what it was. As far as streaming services goes, I subscribe to Netflix and Disney Plus, and sometimes I watch the free stuff on Peacock, and there are loads of free streaming services, and occasionally we'll jump around and watch different things. But let's start with what I'm reading, because if you've watched these videos before, then you know that most of the time I like to read graphic novels. But when I finished the last one that I was reading, I decided that I was going to read an actual book. um, it's funny because I've had this book in my book collection for many years, and no book before its time. What I mean by that is sometimes I will buy a book and it will just sit there on the shelf until it's just the right time to read it. So since this is the month of October, I thought this was an appropriate book to read, and a lot of you have asked me when I've done book videos if I've ever read this book, and I've said that I have it, but I haven't read it. What am I talking about? Stop dragging it out. Talking about Wicked, and this is more or less the story of the Wicked Witch of the West, the Oz story from her perspective. Now, this was written in modern times, whereas the Wizard of Oz books were written many, many years ago. I want to say in the 20s, but I'm not positive. Either the 20s or the 30s. Those books were written by L. Frank Baum, and this was written in the 90s, I want to say. Yeah, early 90s, and by Gregory Maguire. And it has since gone on to become a popular Broadway play. When I first started it, I was like, ooh, I don't know, because this is nothing like the Wizard of Oz books. Those are geared towards children, although I feel like the storyline is quite dark, considering they're supposed to be children's books. But this is much more adult in theme. There's a lot of graphic sexual stuff in here. And so I started reading it and I was like, oh, I don't know. But something was telling me, give it a chance, read a few chapters and see how it goes. Well, the more I read, the more I want to see what happens next. So right now, it's very, very early in the story. I mean, I have only read this much so far. So it's holding my interest, but at the same time, I'm still not sure. So I didn't like fall in love with this book right away as I was reading it. And but it's literally in the infancy of the Wicked Witch of the West. So I think it will probably get better as she gets older, because right now she's just a baby. So it's more or less just telling you about her family and how she came to be and some of the different like villages and stuff in that world. So I think, yeah, I think it'll get better if I stick with it. If you've read that book, or recommended it to me, because I know one of you was asking me, telling me that you loved the book and had I read it. So did it take, for those of you that have read it, did it take you a while to get into it? And did your opinion start to change? Because honestly, I wasn't really crazy about it when I first started reading it. So I'm hoping that as the character gets older, I'll like it better. All right, let's get into the streaming stuff. I have a few things written down here, but I'm sure I've forgotten something. I'm just gonna jump around in terms of when did I watch this stuff. So I basically have watched it from the last time I did a video like this until now, but I'm not gonna do it in any sort of chronological order. I'm just gonna jump around. I made some notes because I wanted to try to remember as much as I could. I'm gonna start with the show that I'm streaming right now. And wow, this is an intense show, and it is so appropriate for the month of October because of the nature of the show. It's called Evil. It's on Netflix, and I'm about a third of the way through. There's only one season of it so far. It was on regular TV. I want to say CBS. I could be wrong though. But Netflix picked it up, and now, of course, it's streaming on Netflix. But the star of the show is Mike Colter. And if you're not familiar with that name, he was the star of Luke Cage, which was a Marvel TV show that aired on Netflix. And I had heard about this show when it was on regular TV, and I was like, oh, great, Mike Colter got another show. Because when they canceled Luke Cage, I felt so bad because I really like him. He's got such a nice vibe to him. I don't know, he's just a very likable person. So when I heard that Luke Cage got canceled, I was like, oh, I hope he gets something else, you know? Well, it didn't take very long. Other people must have felt the same way I did because he was hired to play, I think the character's name is David, on his new show, Evil. Okay, so this show is very dark, deals with the supernatural. He plays a priest in training, so he's not a priest yet, but he wants to become a priest, and he goes around investigating cases of the supernatural, and it's his job to determine whether or not somebody is possessed by a demon or whether or not it's a psychological problem that's causing the things that are happening with this person. And then the other star of the show is an actress whom I've never seen her in anything before, but I think she's very good, very talented. And she plays a psychologist. She's either a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I want to say psychologist. And she helps him determine whether or not this person has a psychological disorder or not. So he's like the religious person that can tell or will evaluate whether or not it's a possession, and she's the one giving the scientific point of view. And then there's a third character who's one of the main characters that they work with, and he looks at everything from a scientific standpoint. He evaluates whether or not something is being done with technology, or is this like a total fake, and is it neither a possession or a psychological disorder? Is it just something that somebody's creating for whatever alternative ulterior motives to try to manipulate a situation? Is it all being faked? Or if there's some kind of anything going on with science or electronics, this guy is there to be the expert in that field. So it's a very good show. There are aspects to this show that are done in such a way that I have never seen done before. Now, I've watched probably hundreds of shows that fall into this supernatural category. That's always been something I've been fascinated with my whole life, and even like dabbled in a little bit myself. No, I'm not going to elaborate on that. I don't want to open that can of worms. But it's an area that I'm interested in and have read a ton of books on and have some experience in, we'll say. And they are touching upon things in this show that I have never seen touched upon on any TV show that deals with anything with a supernatural element. So if this is something that you're interested in, I strongly recommend that you watch it. It is a very, very scary show, so I would not recommend that you watch this with any children in the room. I mean, it's some heavy duty stuff. And they even deal with that subject of whether or not it's appropriate for children to watch scary shows or play scary games or read scary books or whatever. And I was so glad that they brought that up, because I feel like a lot of parents these days do not monitor what their kids are exposed to, and it definitely has an effect on them. And I feel that it's irresponsible for a parent not to monitor what their kids are absorbing from an entertainment standpoint, because a lot of kids just aren't mature enough to deal with the feelings that they're going to feel by watching something or playing something or whatever. Because in the world that we live in, kids have to grow up really fast. And, the world is not what it used to be. And so they're bringing up a lot of important points, I feel, with this show. But it's very well written, really well written. Whoever is writing the scripts for this show, boy, they are really doing their research and they know their stuff. I'm so impressed. Very well acted. The actors are all great. And the special effects are pretty good too, I would say. And it's definitely affecting when you're watching this. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Really amazing stuff. And yeah, so wow, I went on and on about that. Okay, now let's jump over to a movie that I watched on Netflix. It was called Alive. And I love zombie TV shows and movies. And again, it's so appropriate that they release this in the month of October. But what makes it a little different is it's a movie that, it's an international movie. It's a Korean movie. And it was dubbed in English. So, because a lot of people don't like to watch stuff with subtitles. I have watched things with subtitles in the past, and it is a bit distracting because you're trying to watch what's going on in the screen, but you're also trying to read the dialogue down below, and it's kind of tough to be doing both at the same time. It's possible, but it's just harder. It's more like work. So this was dubbed, but it was dubbed very well. It was, because you know how sometimes you watch international things and the dubbing is just so bad that you don't want to watch it. This was dubbed very well. So it was very fun to watch, very exciting, a little tweak on the storyline that we haven't seen before, because let's face it, zombie movies and TV shows have been done so much. But it's definitely worth a watch. It's called Alive, and I really enjoyed it. It's like an hour and a half movie, so not a lot of time out of your life, not much of an investment, but very good. And then I also watched another movie on Netflix called Enid Holmes, and I mainly wanted to see this because Millie Bobby Brown is in it, and she's the girl from Stranger Things. And it was so different than, the role she plays on Stranger Things. I thought, oh, good, let's see her in something totally different. And what it is she plays Sherlock Holmes' sister. And they show you like what's going on in her life, and there's a mystery involved, and she has to figure some things out and basically do what her brother Sherlock does on the daily, And Henry Cavill is the one that plays Sherlock Holmes. Now, he doesn't have a huge role in this. He's more of a secondary character. Henry Cavill, you may have seen him in The Witcher on Netflix or as Superman. He's a really, really good actor. So I was kind of surprised that he took this because he didn't have the starring role in it. But it was very fun to watch, and Millie Bobby Brown kind of clinched it for me. Now I know she can pretty much do anything because she was really good in this. And it was definitely worth your time. I would recommend it. So that's called Enola Holmes, and it's on Netflix. Okay, and then the other thing that I watched on Netflix was a TV show called Cursed. And this one is based on the legend of King Arthur, but it is done in a different type of way. Like they took that story that we're all familiar with and those characters and then put a very different spin on it. They made the characters different than what they normally are, and the story took a lot of liberties. And when I first started watching this, I was like, I'm not sure what I think about this. And so my husband, he kept saying to me, "Are you sure you want to keep watching this? Do you like this?" I said, "I feel like we need to watch at least 2 full episodes to really give it a fair chance, because some things take longer to grab onto you than others." So we kept watching it, and sure enough, it got better as it went along. And I'm not sure so much that it got better as some stories are just harder to get into. And because we were familiar already with the legend of King Arthur and had seen it done many times before, because they twisted the story and made the characters quite different than what we're used to, I think that's why it was a little harder to get into. But once we got into it, we kept saying, "Oh, thank goodness we stuck with this," because it got better and better and better until by the time we got to the end of season 1, which is all that's available right now, we both said, "Oh, I can't wait till season 2." So yeah, I'm glad we stuck with that. So I recommend that as well. Okay, let's hop on over to Disney Plus. I mentioned in a video recently that I watched Hocus Pocus. It's a classic Halloween movie that a lot of people really love. If I'm being totally honest, I thought it was cute. I thought it was okay, but it didn't like blow my mind, like, because so many people love this so much that I thought it was going to be like, wow, you know. I mean, it was good. I'm glad I saw it, but it wasn't really, it wasn't a favorite or anything. So I'm sorry if you love this movie, but I'm just telling you what I thought. I wouldn't say that it was very high up on my list of things that I love or anything like that. I'm glad I saw it, but I doubt I would watch it like every year on Halloween or anything like that. I don't think I'd watch it again. But it was okay / good. The other thing that I watched on Disney Plus was The Secret Society of Second Born Royals. This was this a movie or a TV show? I can't remember. You know, we watch so much stuff that it's hard sometimes to keep it straight. I can't remember. I think it was a movie. I'm pretty sure it was a movie. And I feel the same way about this that I felt about Hocus Pocus. It was okay, and it did get better as you went along. I'm gonna have to go look and see if this, it's bugging me now whether it was a movie or a TV show. Okay, I just went and checked. It was a movie. The reason why I couldn't remember whether it was a movie or a TV show is we didn't watch it all in one sitting. We watched it in increments as we had time. We were trying to like squeeze it in between other things we were doing. It was like a, I think it was on a weekend, and you know, we were busy doing other things, so it seemed like it could have been a TV show because we watched it in increments. Okay, so I feel the same way about this that I did about Hocus Pocus. It was good. It was okay. I'm glad I watched it, but it could have been better. The acting was not that great. The script wasn't that great. And it wasn't executed that well. The special effects weren't top notch. So no, I can't recommend this either. The thing with Disney Plus is, don't get me wrong, I'm glad I have the service. The Mandalorian was why I signed up for it. And that is one of my favorite things that I've watched all year. And I can't wait to see season 2. It starts October 30th. And it also, Disney Plus, also has all the Marvel stuff. It has all the Star Wars stuff. It has a lot of good stuff on it. But unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that's on Disney Plus, I've already seen. And I'm not usually the type of person to watch things on repeat, but I know there's still a lot of content on there that I haven't watched that is good. I just have to figure out what it is. So if you have any recommendations for things to watch on Disney Plus, please feel free to leave it in the comment section, and maybe I'll check it out if it's something that I think I would like. So that is it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.